to another episode of Member Spotlight, brought to you by Community Broadband Action Network. I'm Curtis Dean, and today we're shining our spotlight on one of our newer provider members to the CBAN family, Lumiere Fiber. And joining us today to discuss Lumiere is Walker Hinshaw. Walker, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Curtis, thanks for having me.
You bet. We ran into each other at Broadband Communities in Houston earlier this year, and I was just fascinated by the story of what you're doing in your community there in Colorado, your plans for growth in the future, and all the good things that are happening in the world. So let's start with where it started for you. How did you, were you a part of the beginning of Lumiere Fiber? Tell us a little bit about your own career journey.
Yeah, so I actually went to school out of Vanderbilt University and got a biomedical engineering degree. So
Perfect for building fiber networks.
I know, right? Just the natural path into broadband and fiber providers, right? Biomedical engineering, and came out, was doing healthcare consulting, a lot of travel. Was starting to get a little worn down from that, and looking for what my next opportunity would look like, and thought I'd start my own business. Happened to know somebody who was part of the family who was building out the development, Sterling Ranch, where we're building our fiber network. And they said, you know what, why don't you come work for us? We need someone on the team to help run Lumiere Fiber, which is one of our wholly owned subsidiaries. Mm-hmm. And, if you don't like it, you can always quit and go start your own business anyway. So came out here on board about 8 years ago now. Right when the first homes were getting built and right when the network was just getting kicked off out here in the community. And it's been a fun ride ever since.
So tell us a little bit more about Sterling Ranch, which is your focus right now. I understand it's kind of a planned development, and so there's a lot of with planned developments, it's not willy-nilly. So I'm assuming that part of the plan was to make sure people had good broadband.
Exactly. Yeah. And Sterling Ranch is a master plan community about 30 minutes southwest of downtown Denver. We've been the fastest selling master plan community in the state of Colorado for, I want to say, 5 years running now.
Wow.
And just an incredible location, tucked up right against the foothills, right near 2 state parks. Every resident who moves out here gets a free state parks pass, and just great access to nature, the outdoors. And when the family behind the development was thinking about how do we create a truly special place that people will want to live in, they thought about, okay, well, we've got this incredible nature just in our backyard with this community, and how do we marry that with the best technology available? And when they were going out and trying to determine, okay, what do we need to do? What are going to be the enablers here to make sure that Sterling Ranch stays a technology forward community, they identified fiber and fiber internet as one of those key enablers. And back at the time when they were doing all this upfront research, it was 2010, right around that 2010 to 2012 period, before fiber to the home had really taken off in the way that it has here in the last decade. And when they started going around and asking the local service providers if they would come in and do fiber to the home, the answer they got was largely no. That just wasn't how these companies that were available in our area were building their networks. They just weren't doing fiber to the home. And so they said, well, you know what? We don't want to have a community of haves and have-nots where half the community doesn't have fiber, and then the second half has fiber, and that creates this digital divide within our community. And they said, you know what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create our own company, Lumiere Fiber, to install that fiber network, and then we'll partner with local internet service providers to actually go over that fiber network that we've got. So we ended up spinning up Lumiere Fiber and building our own fiber network. And we ended up signing on, back then it was CenturyLink, now Quantum Fiber, in order to actually provide service over our network to our homeowners. And when we launched with 1 gig service as our baseline. Every home gets a gig internet. And that was back in 2017. And
Wow.
now, in partnership with Quantum Fiber, we're offering 1 gig, 3 gig, and 8 gig plans for our newer areas in the community.
I go back to something you said earlier that just strikes me and created a rather clever thought in my mind. So you're going to have to follow along here, Walker. The fact that, like many other communities, the big providers declined, said, no, thank you, we aren't going to do that. It's a tale as old as time, which of course is a line for Beauty and the Beast. And one of my favorite characters in Beauty and the Beast is Lumiere. So there you go. That's my long tangential way to make a point. It's happened over and over and over again. And that's why communities, in so many cases across the nation, have had to take control of their own destiny. In the case of where you are, bringing in a company like Lumiere that would run that. It's interesting that the provider that's riding on your network is a larger company, one of those incumbent types, because many times they steer away from that. They want to have 100% control of everything on their network. Was that a hard thing to get to sell to CenturyLink, Quantum, whatever their name is today?
Yeah, it actually it was quite an undertaking and lots of back and forth. Definitely helped that one of their big headquarter locations is not that far from the community, so we were able to go meet in person with a bunch of folks over there and really build those relationships and get comfortable with each other that, hey, we're going to be in this for the long haul, and there is a very promising, profitable community that's coming in. So how do we figure out how to make this work? And over the course of a couple of years, we were able to get those agreements in a place where everyone can get comfortable and actually sign them and move forward. But yeah, it was definitely an undertaking to get a larger provider like that on our network.
It's sometimes more difficult. The larger the company, the harder it is to get them outside of their box, because that's the box that built the company that they, built their business. So going outside of that requires a little bit of forethought and certainly a little bit of persuasion on your case. So with Quantum is the only provider on the network. Is that correct?
They are the only provider on the network today. Yes.
Great. So did you ever, open access is the big word everywhere across the country. It seems like communities are building open access fiber networks. Is that something in the future you would see potentially more than one provider? Or do you think just because the situation in Sterling Ranch that one provider and one provider only is probably the best choice?
Yeah, I think it's possible we could go in that direction in the future. And I know when we were initially studying how do we go about this, open access networks were something that we looked at. I think at the time there wasn't as many enablers of those open access networks when we were first getting the community going in 2016 and 2017. Yeah. And really the example that we had seen out there was Utopia. And not that was a bad model, but they had their struggles at the time. And I think since they've really bounced back and been very successful, but we decided, you know what, we don't want to have to make the investment in some of those head-end electronics that we would have the investment in order to truly enable that open access. And at the time, we really didn't have a lot of great options for additional providers that were willing to go over that open access network. So it was a lot simpler of an undertaking to build and lease the fiber to one company as opposed to starting to install some of those additional electronics and deal with some of the additional burdens of managing multiple providers.
Yep. Utopia is another CBAN member, and they'll admit right out that there were growing pains and that they kind of had to. It reminds me a bit in a way of the SpaceX's big rocket, the Starship. It's like you got to keep launching things and let them blow up so you learn from the mistakes, and then eventually maybe you'll have a successful launch. So they're the first to admit, and they really kind of did lead with the chin. They and Ammon, Idaho, were, I think, two of the first open access networks in the U.S. What's interesting, open access is kind of the standard method of providing broadband services in Europe. And so but it's taken a while to translate to the U.S. But now I believe it's getting much more mature. So that can go a long way. Let's talk about your physical plant. I don't want to get all geeky here, but you got a fiber to the home. Is it GPON? What kind of products do you use on the network? What kind of fiber counts, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it is a GPON, XGS-PON setup with a centralized split architecture. We're using Corning fiber in our community, and we've actually, in partnership with Quantum Fiber. Quantum Fiber is the one who is actually installing the OLTs and the ONTs.
Oh, gotcha.
And then the routers, the Wi-Fi routers within the home. But we've worked with them on both Calyx and Adtran gear out here. So we've done a little bit of both, and definitely have experience with ourselves and our contractors installing that equipment, activating that equipment, and working with Quantum Fiber to deliver a good homeowner experience.
I'm assuming Quantum takes care of the customer installation or conversion, and obviously the ongoing relationship is between them and the customer, correct?
Yeah, and we've got a really unique setup out here because every home in Sterling Ranch is also a smart home. And as Lumiere, we're also helping administer that smart home program. So we're working with the builders and the community to identify when a home is closing to a new home buyer. And we're actually sending people out ahead of time to make sure we've got internet installed, ready to go before that homeowner ever moves in. And that all the smart home components are installed and commissioned and ready to go before the homeowner moves in. And then during the closing walkthrough, before the homeowner even signs on the dotted line to take possession of their home, we've already got them signed up for internet, got a credit card on auto bill, and they're live with internet, with instant on internet. So we've got a unique setup out here, and we always tell our customers, call Quantum Fiber first, but we're here. If you need any help, if you have any troubles navigating that system, we want to help. And so we really encourage them to leverage us as well as another touch point if they feel like they're not getting the service that they need in order to be a happy customer.
So are you actually administering the smart home applications, that platform?
Yeah, so we're using Samsung Smart Things as our base platform. And then we've got a number of things in the home as standard. We've got connected light switches, connected thermostat. We've got a water shutoff valve and some leak detectors as well.
Perfect.
So you can shut off your water remotely if you detect a leak. So you're on vacation in Hawaii and suddenly you got leak sensors going off and a notification coming from the water billing provider that you might have a leak in your house. You can just hit that water shutoff button and shut off the water to your home. So we're doing that. And then a security system, connected security systems in there as well, not monitored as the default, but you can go get that monitored. And so a couple things to keep your home safe, monitor your utilities, and have a good smart home experience.
Have you found that my experience has been that you have to have a certain level of geekery in your head in order to administer and do your own smart home stuff? I've dabbled in it, and I'm certainly no technologist, but I've figured some of it out, and other pieces of it I bang my head against the wall. Have you found that people appreciate maybe more of a hand-holding aspect, and the fact that they move in and it's ready to go? They don't really have to go shopping or do anything for the devices that they want to make your home more intelligent.
Yeah, I think it struck a nice balance of where we've got it at today, because it's user friendly and because it's already set up, ready to go. The people who aren't very tech savvy or tech focused and don't want to geek out over it and do a bunch of DIY, they can just get in there and start using it from day one. And then we also offer a full year of what we call white glove support, where if you've got an issue, we'll help you out, no questions asked. If we need to roll a truck, we'll roll a truck. Whatever you need, we're there to support you for at least that first year. And so we find that our homeowners that aren't as tech savvy really appreciate that. And then our homeowners that are more tech savvy really appreciate the fact that Samsung Smart Things hub plugs into a lot of other ecosystems.
Sure.
So that's one of the reasons why we selected that as our base hub, because it works with the Google Homes,
Google, Amazon, Apple. Yeah.
Kit,
Yeah.
and has a bunch of other good integrations. And so that's why we went with that, because it's really easy to build on. So you're not just scrapping it and going with something else in the future.
I would think the other benefit of that too is Samsung's such a huge name in home electronics. Probably half the people in the country have a Samsung smart TV on their wall, or Samsung tablet or whatever. So, or a phone. So that just makes a lot of sense to pick a partner like that. That is obviously continues to spend a lot of time, money, and on research to continue iterating that smart home platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the future, Walker. What does the future hold for Lumiere? You've got Sterling Ranch. Sounds like it's continuing to get built out, so there'll be more network extensions there. But are you guys looking beyond that community at other opportunities for growth?
We are. Sterling Ranch, we've got about 3,000 homes connected. At full build out, it'll probably be 10 to 15,000 homes, a couple million square feet of commercial. We've got our first 2 schools coming in here over the course of the next couple years. Really large sports complex as well. Library coming in. So we're starting to really get that commercial coming in as well. And we've also got our first multifamily building leased up, 300 and something apartment buildings, and a second one going in right now. So we're really getting rolling here within the Sterling Ranch community, and we've hit a tipping point where now we're starting to look at, okay, what does that future hold? And what I would see for us at Lumiere is really going out to these other large master plan communities, starting with ones that are being built in the Denver area, and working with them to build these fiber networks, and really being a partner with them when it comes to internet and making sure that they've got all their internet needs serviced. I know another thing that I've been looking at a little bit, we haven't implemented anything around it, but that's fiber optic sensing. I think that could be a really interesting path forward in the future as well, to just provide some additional benefit to these communities. And so just trying to figure out how we can best serve master plan communities and be that go-to fiber network provider for other master plan communities, first in the Denver area and then even broader, more nationally.
Right. Well, anything you can do to leverage the amazing investment you've made. And what's interesting about that, Walker, what's really, I think, fun about fiber technology is every year something new comes along that needs that backbone in order to work well. So you've got it in Sterling Ranch. You've got that backbone, and now you can keep looking at new ways that you can leverage that backbone to do good things. So hats off to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know here in Sterling Ranch, we're putting a lot more fiber in the ground than we probably need. We figure, hey, a lot easier to put a bunch of fiber in the ground and not need it than not put
enough.
Have to
come back and do it again in 10 years because some new big thing comes out that requires more bandwidth. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're putting 2 fibers past every home, at least 2 fibers past every home, just as hey, you know what, the incremental cost of that will be a lot less. And if you look out to these master plan communities and if they just have a normal provider come in, that's probably not something that they're putting that much fiber in the ground. So those are types of things that we're looking at. Okay, how can we really help these communities future-proof themselves and make sure they stay on the cutting edge of technology and connectivity?
It's really become a key way for communities to stay relevant and to stay attractive. How do you get people to live in your community? Well, you have to have these amenities, and it used to be parks and trails and things like that. And now it's, well, do they have broadband? And how good is it? If it's not real good, I'll look somewhere else. Wise house hunters are doing that on an everyday basis. So.
Yeah, and we've got a ton of people who are working from home, and that was already the case before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Because they could.
Because they could. And
not because they had to, but because they could.
Exactly. And so it's been really interesting to see that just continue to evolve and explode here over the last 5 years.
Great. Well, hey, I do appreciate you coming on with us, Walker. It was great meeting you and chatting with you down in Houston again now. And, thanks for being a CBAN member. And hopefully our CBAN members that are watching this will learn a little bit from our discussion, because that's how we learn, is by hearing how other things other people do things. At least that's always been my pathway. So thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Our guest today on our Member Spotlight has been Walker Hinshaw. He's the COO of Lumiere Fiber. I want to remind everybody that we are working hard to grow our YouTube community and our podcast community. So don't forget, before you end this video, to hit the like and subscribe button down below. It's somewhere down there. I don't know. Podcasters are always pointing at it. I never figure out exactly where the button is, but you'll find it. You're smart. If you're smart enough to be watching this, you're smart enough to find the like or subscribe button. Okay. So I know that's what Walker is going to do. As soon as I send him the link and he watches this and shares it with everybody in the office, he's going to hit the like or subscribe button. Isn't that right, Walker?
That's right. And 5 family members as well, and a couple friends. So
hot dog. Let's go. All right. Well, this is our one-stop growth shop right here with Lumiere Fiber. Again, Walker, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Curtis. Really appreciate it.
And we'll see you all next time here on Member Spotlight.